Welcome to ANM News, and this is Avijit Nandi Mazumdar in ANM-er-Adda. We have had several kind of people, variety of celebrities, from politicians to ministers to football players to football administrators to sports personalities. But now today we have a very different person. I mean, you can guess it. We have an internationally reputed stand-in comedian, Papa CJ. Welcome to ANM-er-Adda, Papa CJ.
Thank you very much,
welcome to
sir.
ANM News, Papa CJ.
Thank you, sir. Lovely to be here.
Absolutely, and you'll be amazed to know Papa CJ is from India. I mean, once the name came to me, I thought like Papa CJ must be a Jamaican or a Barbadian or somebody from West Indies. I mean, somebody who associated with rock star and pop music.
No, sir. The fact is, comedians get no respect. Okay, if I do a great show, somebody will say, "Oh, dude, you were a rock star today." Nobody has ever gone to a rock star after a show and said, "You were a comedian today." Exactly, because they will laugh at that person and beat them up.
Absolutely. So this name really stuck me, and it's great to know that you are from India. Fantastic.
I'm not just from India, I'm from Calcutta. I grew up in this city.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Now, very first thing that I wanted to know from you, what made it stand-up comedian? It's not a course, it doesn't come into a syllabus.
Yeah.
And if you ask 9 parents out of 10, they don't want their children to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
So, what made you choose this profession?
To be honest, sir, I think, as they say in stand-up comedy, you don't choose comedy, comedy chooses you.
Oh.
I had a traditional background. My father was a tea planter. He worked for one tea company in Calcutta for 35 years. I eventually got admission into the University of Oxford to do an MBA program there. So I took loans, did that MBA program, joined a consulting job in London. And after 3 years of getting very bored with the corporate life, I paid back my loans. And then I took a year off. And I went to the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland, which is the largest arts festival in the world. And I saw these people doing stand-up comedy. And I just thought, this is the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, here was a guy on stage with a microphone in his hand. One hand he has a microphone, the other hand he has a beer. And he's just having fun. And that's his life. I thought, this is the most amazing thing in the world. So I chucked up my job. 3 months later, I was on stage. I did 250 shows in London in my first 10 months, 700 in my first 3 years, and I never looked back.
When you first went on stage, you definitely had a butterfly in the stomach syndrome. And
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And just describe your first show.
My first show was on the River Thames on a boat called the Wibbly Wobbly boat. And it was known for being quite a rough gig. The audiences were the kind that would normally heckle you, be rude to you. But luckily for me, that first show went quite well. So that kind of gave me some confidence.
How many audience, how many people
30
were there?
people.
Oh, you performed a
Small
30 people.
show.
Small show. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on the River Thames.
On the River Thames, tiny boat. Because when you're a new comedian, you're never going to get a big show, right? So you and other new comedians get on what they call open mic nights, and you hone your craft there.
Right, absolutely. So where do you get your scripts?
I write them.
Oh, you write them yourself?
Absolutely. All my scripts are written myself. They're based on my life experiences and my point of view with whatever's happening in the world.
Did you ever had any kind of experiences or kind of a schooling or an education on stand-up comedy, on the writing scripts on stand-up comedy? Because these are very specialized scripts.
So to be
has
honest,
to be satirical, isn't it?
To be honest, sir, I attended a short course in London, but I don't think I got much out of that. In this profession, you only learn by doing it. And sometimes in entrepreneurship, for example, they say that, oh, you learn from failure. In my profession, you get feedback every 15 seconds. Every 15 seconds, if the audience is not laughing, you are failing.
Okay.
And there is nothing worse than trying to make people laugh and getting 5 minutes of silence. You want to dig a hole in the ground there and just bury yourself there. So if you're on stage in front of an audience and what you're doing is not working and you don't have the experience or the material to adapt on the spot and fix it, on your way home you have to ask yourself, if I'm ever again in front of a similar audience in the same country, what can I do differently so I don't look like a fool? So for us, failure is the only way to grow and get better. We have to keep performing in different places, different kind of audiences, and learn how to work those audiences.
Right. As you did your first show in River Thames on that small little boat,
Yeah.
what was your catch line? What are the first thing that made people laugh?
The first line I got up on stage and said was, because this was London, English audience, Indian comedian, I would get up on stage and say, would you believe it? Nowadays even your comedy is being outsourced. Yeah. So for them that was like, oh my God, this is true. Because I was also the only Indian comedian in the entire country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you started off in England and you performed
Yes.
a whole lot of shows in England.
Yes, sir.
So one thing that I wanted to ask you, what about your family? What about your parents?
Yeah.
Were they very encouraging in the beginning, or
Yeah.
they were very skeptical?
So the wonderful thing about my parents is that they have always been entirely supportive of me. So when I started off, they saw that I had found something I was passionate about. So they encouraged me wholeheartedly. Of course, 10 years later they told me, listen, we thought you'll do it for 6 months and stop it, but you just kept going on. But the other upside was that I was also financially independent. You know, I was never taking money from home. Nowadays it's very popular to say follow your passion, you know, but passion doesn't put food on the table always. So while you want to feed the soul, you need to feed the stomach as well. So even when I went broke doing stand-up comedy, I took a day job. I would work in the day and perform at night. But in my head, even though I was in a job for 8 hours a day and doing comedy for 20 minutes a night, in my head I was a comedian and the job was on the side. So that eventually got me through.
So as you move forward,
Yeah.
do you think the stand-up comedy
Yeah.
in England or wherever,
Yeah.
do you think that this is a very paying profession or something?
To be honest, sir, it is, I'd say 1 in 1,000 can make a good living out of it. The bright side for me when I started was that I had no clue how low the odds were. You know, so as they say, ignorance is bliss. I kept doing it, and luckily I seem to have landed on my feet.
Great. So do you think it's more of a competence? I mean, a lot of people, other people are coming into stand-up comedy.
Sure.
So do you think that a luck played a part or somewhere down the line?
I think so. Luck always plays a part, but as they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
True.
So
Very true.
You've got to put in the work. There's no substitute for
you
that.
had a very rough ride initially. When you started off, you worked 8 hours a day, and then you put up your script, and then
Yeah.
got your job. Then, as you move forward, what was the thing that opened the door for you?
I think moving back to India, because English language comedy didn't exist in terms of traditional stand-up. So I started off the circuit when I moved back to Delhi, and then there's just such a huge market in India, you know, because in today's day and age where people have limited attention spans, like I said, we give you a punchline every 15 seconds. It's in a casual atmosphere. You can have a drink in your hand, you can relax, and it's a great way to unwind. And that really opened things up because our audiences here, especially in the cities, did not have comedians who could cater to their tastes. So suddenly you had these Indian comedians creating local content, and that really picked up. And the big difference has been corporates saying, you know what, we want comedians to come in. Now in the days of coronavirus and working from home, it's huge because people are having mental health issues. You know, there's so many challenges of working from home, and guys like me get online and perform for between 25 people to 7,000 families is what I've performed for in the lockdown, and it makes a massive difference to how people feel mentally.
Has the audience improved over the years? Have it increased and improved? And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
more people are interested in stand-up
Absolutely.
comedy?
I personally think our audiences are fantastic. I mean, I've been doing comedy in India for the last 13 years. I wouldn't have been able to do that if our audiences weren't very good.
So is it in Hindi, Bengali, English, or any other regional languages?
So for me, most of it is English. For the regional languages in Hindi, there are people who can do it far better than I can, because there are so many nuances to humor that unless you have a complete command over the language, you're never going to be very good at it.
So you've got an English market in India or English market in this part of the globe?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm happy to. I've performed in about 25 countries so far, and any English-speaking country in the world, more than happy to perform.
So coming to a very different line, when you choose your script,
Yes.
how do you choose it? I mean, do you pick on, say, a airline or a political personality or somebody?
No, sir. So it's a case of just life experience. You know, when I'm witnessing different things around me, and I see something that I think might be funny, I will make a note of it.
Okay.
Eventually, I will sit down with all my notes, write a whole bunch of jokes, and then I will take it to a small show in front of live audiences to try it out, to see what works, what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, maybe try it differently. And you do this a few times in front of a few small audiences until you realize, okay, now this really works well. Then you take it into the bigger shows.
So have you ever run into any trouble with any of those people or individuals or organizations whom you picked on?
Oh, absolutely. In South Africa and Johannesburg, I had to once perform at gunpoint because the guy who was promoting the show did not want to pay me. I said, if you don't pay me, I will not perform. And he just pulled out a gun. He said, no, you will perform. So I was on stage with 500 people in front of me and one man behind me with a gun in his hand. So that was one experience. Then
and how long did you perform there at gunpoint?
Well, that show, just that specific show, which is maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
So 45 minutes you had a gun in your head and you performed?
Well, not on my head. He wasn't standing here, but he was backstage in the wings. It would have been weird if he was standing there and I was performing.
No, literally speaking, as such.
Then I remember in a city in the UK, I had 3 people who pulled out knives. They pulled out knives, and then I told them, listen, the promoter has specifically told me I can do these jokes. Why don't you go check with him? So they went to check with him. While they went to check with him, I quickly got into my car and I drove back to London. The following week, I got a call from the police because they had complained to the police, and the police called me and said, are you the comedian who cracked those jokes? So I said, yes, I am. They said, well, the police is having a show this weekend. We would love you to come and perform. So there you go.
Fantastic. Well, these are small life experiences that you had over the years.
Yes, sir.
So what has been your best show so far? I mean, where you were content, you're happy, you made people laugh, and what was the best, some of the best punchlines in those shows?
So the best shows for me, so I've had the privilege of performing in many wonderful venues. I've performed on Broadway in New York. I've performed at the Soho Theatre in London. I've performed to a full house at the Sydney Opera House. But I do something called the Happiness Project, where for free I go into the homes and hospital rooms of people who have been unwell for a long time. Cancer patients, people with amputations, just to raise their spirits. And nothing is more rewarding for me than shows like that. You know, I've had patients say we haven't laughed this much since we were diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. In terms of the best punchlines, I mean, there are so many just different jokes. I try and customize my material around the audiences I'm in. So, for example, since we are in Calcutta, there's a show, joke I do about Calcutta, saying, you know, I was driving in London, taking driving lessons, and this instructor asked me, he says, you know, you Indians, why don't you drive in a straight line? I said, listen, I'm from Calcutta. In England, you drive on the left of the road. In Calcutta, we drive on what is left of the road. So I customize it. One of the most, I don't know if I can say this on television, one of my most popular lines earlier is, I used to perform abroad a lot. I always tried to represent India in a positive light. So I used to say, don't mess with us Indians, because we come from the land of the Kama Sutra. We can screw you in more ways than you can count. So that was one of the more popular ones.
So do you do political satire?
Not too much. By and large, politics and religion don't interest me much. I suppose maybe that's why I don't get into trouble a lot. But those are areas that are not much of interest. For me, human relationships are more of interest. But also the kind of political jokes I do. So I'll give you an example. I was in Singapore, and if you've ever been to Singapore, you will know that nothing ever happens in Singapore. When I opened the newspaper, on the front page of the newspaper it said, there was a pig on the street. Right? So if there's a pig on the street, in Singapore that becomes headline news. In Germany it becomes a sausage. In America, it became the President of the United States of America. So that obviously is a Donald Trump reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that kind of stuff, but it's more,
yeah.
Because I believe to do deep political commentary, you have to be very well informed. Now, I'm not well informed enough to have an educated opinion. Then it's no point. You know, people are going to make holes in what you have to say. Yeah.
Well, you're a handsome guy.
A handsome guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, are you flirting with me?
No. And you are an internationally famous stand-up comedian. So, and when you make people laugh, you must be making girls laugh, and they must be coming all over you.
So no, it's a rumor. It's a myth that women are attracted to men with a sense of humor. That is not true.
Oh, you're cutting off that myth?
No. We live as a comedian. You live in the friend zone.
Okay.
That is where you live. They will come, talk to you, laugh, and then go away with somebody else.
So you ever had any flings or in shows somebody coming up and kind of coming up onto you, hitting onto you?
I have, but it's mostly hairy old men, so I have resisted their advances. But it does happen. I have been in situations where it's mostly older Indian ladies who will come to me, flirt with me, and then ask me to marry their daughters. And I'm just thinking, I do not want to be in this house.
So when you're going back in this stand-up comedy, what now do you feel that more and more young generation of people,
Yes.
I mean people who pass out of schools and colleges,
Yes.
they should take this up as a profession?
I'm never the kind of person, sir, who would say they should take it up. To each their own, whatever they're passionate about. But I believe now with the internet and YouTube videos and people getting lots of hits and comedy becoming popular, it is a viable profession because people are now getting paid decent money to be able to do it. And the message I would give to our audience is that it's very important for you to pay for tickets. In our country we still have a culture of wanting a free pass or wanting to be on a guest list. But if you don't pay for tickets, then performers do not get paid, and then the parents will never encourage their children to go and become performing artists because they'll say you can't make a living doing stand-up comedy or whatever the case might be. So it's very important that we have a culture of paying for it.
True. But stand-up comedy as an alternate profession it's a good profession. I mean, one can take it up. One can take
it's
it
a
forward.
fabulous profession. It's a fabulous. I mean, Kapil Sharma, I believe, makes 75 lakhs a show or something. I have no clue what the number is, but I believe it's something ridiculous. But then you have to remember that 1 out of 10,000 or a million will probably be in that category.
In that category.
Yeah.
But as a professional, you can. It's a decent enough profession to take forward. But
Absolutely.
then tell me one thing: how does one learn this? I mean, if somebody needs to
learn
learn,
simply by doing it, sir. There is no substitute for stage time. You get on stage, you try your stuff, you see what works, you see what doesn't work. It is the only way to learn. There is no other way.
Okay. So on the next phase, once you move forward as a stand-up comedian, do you try to keep this profession? You're going to move forward in this profession till the end of your life, or looking for anything alternative at the moment?
I don't have a fixed plan, sir. When I'm enjoying things, I keep doing it. When I don't, I try something else. So I don't think you necessarily have to decide now what you're going to do for the rest of your life. For now, I love doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Oh, you're taking every day as it comes in a sense.
Absolutely.
Great. I mean, that's something. Now, what we often felt, learned, and saw is that laughter is a great medicine.
Yes.
And if there's a school of thought which says that if somebody is sick,
Yes.
Maybe a dying patient,
Yes.
miracles do happen through laughter. So, can you just elaborate on that?
I don't know about miracles happening through laughter. And I don't know if laughter is necessarily a substitute for traditional medicine. I'm not qualified to answer that question. But I am a trained laughter yoga instructor, and laughter has been shown to have many benefits from a mental health point of view. It increases your endorphins, which are natural painkillers. It's better for your immune system, it's better for your digestive system. So there are multiple benefits of laughter. And I do go into hospitals, a lot of hospitals, and I perform for patients, for doctors, for nurses, for their carers. So yeah, and 10 or 15 minutes of laughter a day is fabulous. It's just so good to start your day with that laughter.
You get a positive vibe inside.
In fact, if you smile and try and say, I'm feeling sad, just try it. It's so difficult. You can't actually feel, you say it, but you won't feel it.
Yeah, it's a de-stress, it's stress buster.
Absolutely.
So do you feel, now coming to a very little serious stuff, do you feel that laughter should be there in hospitals? I mean, this kind of therapy should be there in hospitals and nursing homes?
I think laughter should not just be there in hospitals and nursing homes, it should be in every house, it should be in schools. Why can't you just start the day with 10 minutes of laughter? What a beautiful day that would be.
Yes. So you are advocating a school curriculum?
Absolutely.
Or maybe a 10 minutes laughter in every school?
Absolutely, like you have PT in the morning.
Yeah.
Have some laughter yoga, yeah? Just start with 10 minutes of laughter. It increases the amount of oxygen that goes into your lungs because it allows you to get more of the carbon dioxide out.
True.
And helps you perform better as well.
So that's a very interesting objective, because once you have laughter in schools and colleges, once you have laughter, like we saw in Munna Bhai MBBS in that movie, Bollywood movie, how a person who is not a doctor changed the life of so many patients.
Yes.
So this is what you feel could also change the life in real life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
I mean, try it now. Just laugh for 10 seconds. Fake it. Just fake it. Let's go. What happens is, so with laughter yoga, you started off as an exercise. Through eye contact and playfulness, your fake laughter becomes real laughter. And the body cannot differentiate between fake and real laughter. So you still get the same physiological benefits of that laughter. So it's fabulous.
So what's your message to the young generation, to the students, to people who are watching ANM News, and also to the general people at large?
So my message to the younger generation is two things. One, don't listen to advice from people like me. You guys are far smarter than all of us, so do whatever works for you. But the only thing I will say is, and I say this when I go to speak to kids everywhere, that the only independence is financial independence, right? If you can prioritize standing on your feet, once you can earn your own keep, you can do what you want. While you're living under somebody else's roof with somebody else financing you, sometimes you have to go by their rules. But I don't believe, I just think that if the only messages I could say is be compassionate, be kind. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter how much money you make, how famous you get, but if you're a good human being, then people will remember you and cherish you.
Absolutely, and there are a whole lot of people, I mean youngsters, who these days take up drumming, music, singing as a profession. I mean, and through you, we also want to say that stand-up comedy is also a kind of a very, very knowledgeable and a very nice profession. I mean, it's a very important profession. I mean, this is where people can make money, people can be good, people can also be famous.
Yeah, it's a wonderful lifestyle. I mean, my job is fun. A doctor is constantly dealing with people who are unwell. A lawyer is always dealing with people who are in conflict. That kind of negative space. I'm always looking at laughing people. How wonderful is that, to be in that kind of a space, where people are having fun.
Absolutely, very, very correct. So on that note, we'll have a cup of tea here.
Sure, sir. Oh my God, wonderful. Look at the branded mugs. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
We also have a morning Adda session here, and we always laugh and have a lot of fun. So we start our day with a lot of laughter.
Wonderful.
So that's how, I mean, I don't know, we haven't picked it up consciously.
Yeah.
But then now, speaking to you, talking to you, I myself, I mean, more than the interview, my mindset is also changing. I mean, going back and wondering, yes, the morning session that we have in Tolikans Club, and where we sit down together and laugh a lot on topics which are not even close to what we do.
Yeah.
That's like very fun and positive.
Yeah.
And that makes your day. I mean, you start very healthy, you start very, like, of course, I'm energized.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to go.
Absolutely.
So
wonderful.
That's a wonderful feeling, isn't it?
It is.
And now that you mentioned, and what I really realized, that once you go and watch a show, especially a stand-up comedy, then a lot of things and a lot of stress that's on your shoulders, a lot of negativity that's inside you, that goes.
Yeah.
That really washes away.
Yeah.
And that's a fabulous feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On a winding up note, let me ask you one last question. What's your future plan?
What's my future plan? I don't have plans, sir, but I have a mission in life, which is to uplift people and to help them be the best version of themselves. So whether it is through my stand-up comedy, through my corporate training, through my motivational speaking, through the Happiness Project, through the books that I write, I just want, it gives me great joy to be able to uplift others and help them realize their dreams. So if I can play a small part in that, I would love to keep doing that.
Wow, keep smiling and keep laughing. And that was Papa CJ. Now what does his real name is? I mean, that's a deep-rooted secret. We don't want to let it out. Let him let it out. We won't do that ever. But Papa CJ, stand-up comedian of international repute, but he's also an ambassador of happiness. happiness, isn't it? Thank you very much, Papa CJ, for being with us, for sharing your experiences, your life, and stand-up comedy. We never knew nothing about stand-up comedy. Now I am going educated.
I'll just add one more thing to that, sir. I've written a book called Naked.
Okay.
It is an autobiography. So if you want more stories about stand-up comedy and jokes and my life story, it's all in there.
The name of the book is very suggestive.
The name of the book is very suggestive because the idea behind it is it has nothing to do with physical nakedness, but I'm removing metaphorical layers and revealing my sort of inner self. And in that you get joy and sadness, and it's a whole adventure. So I hope you get the time to read it.
Absolutely. So thanks for your time,
Thank
Papa
you very
CJ,
much, sir.
and thanks for watching ANM News. Thanks for watching Papa CJ, and I'm sure we are all laughing away, of course, to the bank and to our respective professions. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching ANM News.